It is now time to review New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom 20, which happened on January 4th, 2026 over there in the Tokyo Dome in Tokyo, Japan. A show that will be remembered for all the right reasons, right? It's going to be remembered first and foremost because of the Hiroshi Tanahashi retirement stuff, right? The match, the subsequent ceremony, but will also be remembered for, very, I believe, historically, potentially, I should say. Let me rewind that a bit. Potentially significant events such as the debut of Aaron Wolf and Yota Tsuji's first World Championship victory, particularly, most importantly, being crowned in the Dome. Otherwise, this is a show that would, if it wasn't for these elements, and if these elements had not scored so hard as they did, right? This is a show that I don't think would stand the test of time because the rest of the card was extremely uneven, very much beneath the top end of the card, maybe outside of one match. We'll get to all of that very soon, and I'll stop talking cryptically. But big picture, I think this show is a mixed bag. But I think nonetheless, the attraction of this show, the reason why you were tuning in, or reasons I should say, the true effort upon which New Japan had placed a lot of energy towards delivers on such a high level that you've already forgotten about the other stuff that's happened, especially the bad stuff on the show. Because yes, I believe there is bad stuff on this show. But if we start with the business side of things, like we typically do here on these reviews, Wrestle Kingdom 20 had 46,913 people in attendance. This is, of course, according to New Japan itself. Look, I have a tendency to believe that this number is real. I usually am very skeptical when all we have to go on is data from the promoter, because promoters fudge numbers. This is just how it goes, right? But New Japan had literally stopped selling tickets, right? They had stopped extracting every possible yen out of the Japanese ticket buying market and international ticket buying market as well. They were completely topped off. There was no way you could be getting into that show if you didn't have a ticket before. I mean, I was going to say today, but because I'm recording this on the 4th. But even before, weeks ago, they pulled up the sign saying no vacancy, essentially. So I have a tendency to believe that this number is real, and this is a huge number for them. It's going to be an enormous gate. They're going to be extremely thrilled with this number. It's going to be a number that's going to be, by the end of the year, will undoubtedly be in the top 10 biggest, most attended shows, I would assume, right? Because assuredly WWE and the WrestleManias are going to do, crazy business, right? You've got the Wembley show for AEW, which will probably do extremely well as well. If it's not a top 5, it's going to be in the top 10, depending on the kinds of business that WWE continues to do. I don't know what they're doing for SummerSlam. Are they doing 2 more nights of SummerSlam this year in some huge stadium somewhere? Maybe they're doing that as well. I couldn't tell you. What I can tell you is that this number is big, as you yourself have figured it out. Didn't need me for that kind of analysis, but it's going to hold up. It's going to hold up, and I'm convinced that New Japan is thrilled, because this is the type of reaction people buying so many tickets. This is the type of reaction they wanted from their audience in regards to Tanahashi's last year in business, right? This is what they wanted. They wanted to fill out the Tokyo Dome, and they did, and they got on TV. This Tokyo Dome show has generated tremendous attention and business for them, and they have to be pleased. Now, hopefully, and this is entirely up to them, hopefully they can capitalize on this momentum for the rest of the year, which is something we still have to see, but because the year is just starting. But nonetheless, it'll be interesting to see how all of this shakes out. Now, as for today's review, okay, so this was a very newsworthy, eventful show, as you probably all know by now. And I think the way I want to tackle this is by breaking down the larger news items, the big events that happened on the show. So I propose that we go with the Tanahashi retirement and the match, his match against Okada. Then move on to Aaron Wolf. Then move on to Yota Tsuji. Then move on to Jake Lee. I cannot believe that Jake Lee is coming out of my mouth as part of this is big news that's happening. But here we are. We're starting the year 2026, and Jake Lee is a newsmaker. But look, nonetheless, we are going to talk about it. There might be some burying going on as well. And then after that, well, we'll go through the rest of the card if you are all comfortable with that. If you are not comfortable with that, well, then, listen to this audio in the order that you prefer. And I'm just make your own Warren Hayes podcast. Just, rearrange the bits whichever way you want, and listen to it that way. That's also possible for you to do. So Tanahashi Okada, listen, this is you don't need me to tell you that this was an incredible match, that this was the stuff of legend. I will use the term legendary in this circumstance here. I don't know what other descriptors to give it. It's such a high level, excellent match that just surpassed, I believe, just about everyone's expectations, and that created a send-off that was, dare I say, perfect in every single way. From the match to the ceremony, I would shudder to think what you could do better, different. I don't know what you could do, particularly when it comes to the match, right? I mean, the match was absolutely superb. And it turns out that Kazuchika Okada was indeed the best guy to have this final match with. Despite, look, and myself, I was privy, much more motivated by the idea of Shinsuke Nakamura being Tanahashi's opponent for a while. When Okada sort of popped up, I was like, fun, but I kind of, if you go back and listen to my argument when it comes to Nakamura, I was always on the end of, well, these guys came up together, they were friends, musketeers, etc., etc. There would be something very poetic about Nakamura being the guy in this match, right? But then Okada comes around, and that stuff sort of pops up. I was ambivalent at first, and then, as things moved on, I was like, you know what, this is actually a really good idea. I was unconvinced that this was going to happen for multiple reasons. That I think that's the primary reason why I was very gung-ho on Nakamura for a while, because I really thought that Okada just would not happen because of the way things finished with his departure from New Japan. I didn't believe that there was going to be any room or any desire, I should say, from him to be back so soon in a New Japan ring. But then it started coalescing. It appeared to become more and more of a reality, and I wasn't against it. I was never against it. And at that point, I even said to myself, you know what? This will be a great match, and I, basically conceded and whatnot. And, you start putting things together, and then you sort of realize that the Nakamura match isn't that good of an idea. Then Okada was settled on, and the rest is history. And it legitimately did turn out to be, I sincerely believe, the best outcome. I cannot imagine Hiroshi Tanahashi going out with anyone else than Kazuchika Okada in this match right here. I believe this was a perfect wrestling match. It's something that combined both the high level work that you expect from such a huge main event, from two such important workers in Japanese pro wrestling, while also delivering the emotion and the story that truly made this match something unique. And it was truly a great way to close his career. Look, I was chatting with a pal over there at Voices of Wrestling, Jeff Andrews, and he shared with me like a great perspective over in regards to the story of this match and how he perceived it. Where Tana's final match was really a story about a man who that age just caught up with. Just like the most, mortal thing that happens to all of us is just like time truly doesn't wait for anyone, and it didn't wait for Tanahashi, and it just caught up with him and started wearing him down, essentially, right? This guy whose body was destroyed, over years of doing what he does, but particularly pushed himself through a final year to give everything he had so that he could wrestle everyone he wanted to wrestle one last time, so that he could go say goodbye to the audiences he wanted to say goodbye to one last time. And in the meantime, try to do what he did best, and that is have great, entertaining wrestling matches that, essentially send people home happy until he had nothing left. Like I said, age came for him, and the wear and tear just wore him down, tore him down. It wore and it tore him down, essentially. And the match that he had with Okada, truly was the perfect way to close it all out. Because, like I said, all throughout 2025, he's had all sorts of matches all over the place, all sorts of different opponents, and of all sorts, right? He's had terrible matches. He's had so-so matches, and he's had good matches, great matches. He's had matches where his physical state was absolutely obvious. Then there was moments where he seemed to surpass everything that we expected from him, where suddenly for a few fleeting moments, you're like, maybe he's not being dragged down by the inevitability that waits for us all, being very doom and gloom here. But, maybe he is like this greater, this higher type of life form, right? And maybe he still has it in him. Maybe there is something more, that there is more for him to give, despite his body saying, no, I got nothing left, because he pulls out excellent matches, right? Like his one against Takeshita, or with Tsuji. But in these circumstances, despite the fact that he went above and beyond any expectations that people had regarding Hiroshi Tanahashi, and people finishing the match going, holy shit, like what an incredible match, he would end up showing that he tried to keep up. He tried to keep up with these wrestlers right now who are considered to be the best wrestlers on the planet. And unfortunately, the realization that we all had to come to was that Hiroshi Tanahashi can no longer swing with these wrestlers, can no longer hang with the best wrestlers on the planet. So with his final match, fighting his greatest rival, he collapses, right? He's collapsing under the weight of the moves, but he just doesn't want to give up. He keeps crawling back up. He tries to stay in it. He does his best. He tries to hang on to what has fed him, what has made him who he is, an identity, I guess he doesn't want to let go. But like I said, the inevitable comes for him. What puts him away in the end is Rainmaker Okada, right? That's who puts him away. It's not the AEW Okada, but the guy who was truly his rival, the guy who wrestled him and at every time brought the best out of him, always seemed to get exactly what needed to be drawn out of Hiroshi Tanahashi. It's a terrific story and an all-time match, right? I'm still convinced Nakamura could not have delivered on this level of not only high-level wrestling, but also deep, sincere pro wrestling storytelling. This was so well done. This match was so well done, and you could believe, you believed so much that Tanahashi could wrangle a win out of this, right? Even though a lot of us were expecting him to lose, there were points. There was a point in this match where people were buying into the fact that Hiroshi Tanahashi was going to win. And for me, that point, and I think for a lot of people, was when he hits the high fly flow on Okada's back, and then flips him on his back, exposes his chest, and then goes up to do the second one, right? Which ultimately Okada lifted his knees on. But as he was going up, he had that spring, he had that urgency that the ace has always had in these circumstances, because you've seen this finish so many times before where he does the one on the back, but that's not the full one, flips the opponent over, goes back up, and he's got this spring in his step, and the audience is cheering, and I'm sitting there going, holy shit, he's going to do it. Like, they legitimately got me in a moment where I'm like, no, I mean, he's not going to win because Tanahashi's not a guy like that. Like, Tanahashi he's a guy who's going to want to, exit the business on his back. He's just that type of guy. And it's fine. It makes perfect sense that he does. But they had us believing nonetheless. And I cursed audibly when Okada lifted his knees. It was, I really let one out because I thought this was it. And before this point, right, Tanahashi is having all these great hope spots where he's doing, his callbacks to Nakamura, right? He's landing a dragon suplex and he's holding the bridge, right? He's holding the bridge on his tippy toes. And I'm like, Jesus, like it looked. We see this so many times now in pro wrestling, which is fine. Don't get me wrong. It's to me a great bridge is always impressive, but it's doubly impressive when it's a guy like Tanahashi whose body is completely broken down, and here he is doing shit that I didn't expect him that he'd be able to do. He's making us believe that he has a chance to win this. And the other core component of this that made this so successful was Okada being a heel until maybe the very final instance of the match, right? But he was just brilliant stuff. He was absolutely phenomenal with his heel mannerisms, and not going to the well too much, raking the eyes, but he, no outright low blows. We don't have screwdrivers hidden in turnbuckles and bullshit like that. But just a good old fashioned, hey, fuck you, audience, I'm going to beat your guy type of heel. And it was tremendous. And the audience was into it. The audience was so happy that when Tanahashi was trying to build back what he needed to get back on top to try and win the match because they didn't like Okada in this circumstance. He does the first Rainmaker pose and does it AEW style with the middle finger, flipping the bird. He didn't even come out with his Rainmaker music. He came out with his AEW music, his overall reviled AEW music. So, already showing off antagonism to the rest of, to everyone else, basically. And when Tana kicks out of the Rainmaker after the Flosion, I fucking love this. Okada stands up and he's like, okay, brother, look, you want to keep kicking out? Stand up. I'm not reaching down for it. You have to get up on your fucking feet here. He's just standing there and Tanahashi is just, he's clasping at Okada, trying desperately to get up. I fucking love this moment. And again, I'm sitting there saying, Tanahashi just might do it. He's going to win this, or isn't he? But no. Okada does another elbow because he did the elbow drop gimmick, the whole elbow drop, the body slam elbow drop, Rainmaker pose sequence. He did that all earlier, but he does another elbow drop. Does the actual Rainmaker pose and then lands the Rainmaker for the win. And holy shit, what a phenomenal finish to a phenomenal match. It's remarkable. It truly is remarkable. I had no doubts. I even talked about it on the preview on stream earlier this week. I had no doubts that these two men together would be able to string together an absolutely excellent match. I had, when I tell you, zero doubt, but I did not expect it to go this hard, to be so perfectly constructed, to be so fucking brilliant in what it was able to accomplish, what it made me feel. Maybe Tanahashi should have retired 5 years ago before things really started going downhill. But you know what? If things hadn't really started going downhill, and if the consensus amongst wrestling fans and observers and pundits and fucking commentators, whatever the hell I do, podcasters, if the consensus hadn't been for the past 2 years, Tanahashi is washed, he's broken down, he can't do it anymore, this match would not have hit as hard. 5 years ago, we would have got a completely different match, and I don't think it would have hit as hard. This one here, we really saw that Tanahashi's biggest opponent was time, was just like the normal flow of time. That's what eventually got him. No matter how hard he pushed back, no matter how much he gave, and he gave so much. Look, Tanahashi could probably be laid up in bed for the next 2 months, but he left this match, he left the Tokyo Dome and this match unquestionably with the biggest sense of accomplishment. He is unquestionably so proud of what he's done and what he's leaving behind that he's probably in his bed somewhere, with his feet all fucking, with his legs, his knees all fucking iced up or whatever, being injected with whatever, super juice that is required to treat him or whatever. And he's taken, his pain pills, and he's the happiest man on earth without a shadow of a doubt. What an incredible match. And the match was so good both guys couldn't help smiling at each other after, when everything was done. You've got Okada, he wins, stands up, does a pose, then kneels next to Tanahashi, who's selling the finish, right? and Okada's smiling, and Tanahashi smiles right back at him, and you're like, this fucking rules. This is it. Like they know what just happened, and they are so extremely proud of it. And I don't know what else to add, quite frankly. It's the easiest 5-star match you'll ever give 5 stars to. It's already a contender for match of the year. Like that's not even a problem. It's a match that I think every wrestling fan needs to watch. You know, because what I'd like wrestling fans to see in here is what a truly authentic storytelling match should look like and should make you feel. That's what I think it is. And it's not a work rate special where you've got, you know, both these guys doing these incredible moves and, you know, doing flips or whatnot. That's not what this is. It is a perfect cap off to a storied career that follows just a logical long-term tale that they've been telling for at least a full year, if not further. And it all culminates to this incredible match. I can't suggest it enough. You have to watch this. It's going to be one of these matches that in 20 years, when the next generation of wrestling fans, you know, pops up, this is going to be part of required viewing. It happened. I feel privileged to have been able to see this while it was happening, while it was actually, you know, as it was taking shape and forming into reality.
And then there's the ceremony afterwards, which was, you know, simple, but very heartwarming in multiple ways, where you had, you know, some of Tanahashi's, you know, most prominent rivals, mentors, you know, like, look, you had Jay White show up, Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi, Katsuyori Shibata, who wanted to fight, comes into the ring and he's got the flower bouquet, but he's like, takes off his shirt. He's like, come on, let's go. And he lands a couple of chops and then he hugs him, which was fantastic. He had Kaiji Muto was there, Fujinami was there. And then later, Tetsuya Naito shows up, which was really funny because Tetsuya Naito completely trolled him by taking his sweet ass time. Just the most, like, you know, literally the most Naito thing, right? But he was taking his extra time. Before coming out there. Did the fist bump with them, the LIJ. I don't know. Well, I guess it's not the LIJ bump anymore, but he, you know, does the fist bump with them, but doesn't do the cheap shot. So, but you know what? It was so nice. And then after, Tanahashi does it felt like, you know, 15 minutes of air guitar. I know it wasn't that, but, you know, like he took his time and is like, he just did the air guitar stuff. He went all around the ring, shaking hands, and you could tell this man wanted to sit the fuck down. You could tell, like we've seen Hiroshi Tanahashi in the past with fans. Okay. We've seen him in the past with fans. He takes his time and he smiles and he's like, you know, and he takes selfies with fans. But now he was more like it was a little more expedited, right? He wasn't taking as much time as he usually does. But he was heading out, goes up the ramp and then goes on this chariot, which some New Japan guys start pushing around all throughout the floor on it's an elevated sort of chariot gimmick. And he's moving all through the audience there, you know, through the floor of the Tokyo Dome so that he can say goodbye to all of the audience who are in the rafters. And he's got a microphone and he's going arigato. He's thanking everyone. And it is absolutely phenomenal. You know, music is playing, people are crying. Of course he's cried. He cried his tears out, his eyes out, right? But tears do come out. But he cried his eyes out. You know, even tried to stay as stoic as he could during the 10 bell salute. You know, I lost my shit. I was crying like a fucking child at that point. It was crazy. It got me. And it was such a nice, heartfelt moment that New Japan allowed to breathe. They gave it all the time that it was required, because 46,000, almost 47,000 people bought tickets to this show to say goodbye to one of the greatest to ever do it, to the hero of New Japan. That's what everyone came around to do. So they gave everyone an opportunity to truly say goodbye. Like, they let this moment live until it was time for him to go back, and disappear. Now, it's not as if Hiroshi Tanahashi is like gone for good. He's the president of the company. He's still going to pop up, of course, right? But as a performer, one would assume that his time is done. Everyone would assume that, right? But so, it's like it's not as if he's, it's not as if we're sending him to the glue factory or anything. But there is a part of the living, breathing New Japan Pro Wrestling that has been removed, that is gone, that will no longer be there, right? And I think it became fairly obvious as well when all the people in the ring, right, that are all there, they're all that are no longer a part of New Japan, right? And I'm talking about all the AEW guys, essentially. We're all AEW guys, right? Ospreay and Jay White and Kenny and Shota and Shibata. They're all New Japan guys. They're all AEW guys. They all left. And I'm looking at that and I'm like this is really it. This is like, you could not have a clearer symbol that the old New Japan is truly gone. Like, it is absolutely final, kaput, gone. Tanahashi was the last guy left. Naito showed up later. He showed up after, but he enters saying, maybe one day I'll come wrestle here again. But I think even he himself is like, I'm a relic now. I'm something that belongs to another part of history. And Tanahashi's, I've mentioned it a few times on stream, but it materialized. This idea that with Tanahashi leaving, there is an entire era of New Japan that comes to a close, that's finished. And seeing all of the other guys that helped define that era, that were, Okada just walked away, but then you've got Jay White that's in there. You've got Kenny. You've got Kota Ibushi. Seeing all of those guys, it materialized. Shibata, like, these are products, people from a bygone era of this company. And hopefully there are people backstage at New Japan who saw this and had the same sort of realization and will finally decide to, push some young guys. What a sincere, authentic finish to this man's career. And I know it's weird to talk about authenticity on, when you talk about a business that is essentially, like, historically has been built on lies, right? Where everything is just, everything is just ultimately a con, window dressing, nothing is real. It's all smoke and mirrors. But historically, at the same time, the things that feel authentic, that really do have heart, are the things that typically you remember, that fill you, that make you feel something, that doesn't ring hollow. When it rings hollow, it's not quite as successful. When it does feel real, when there's something that connects, that has heart, then that's an entirely different experience. And I think that's what we got here. And it's something that ultimately was missing from John Cena's retirement. And yeah, I think it is 100% okay to juxtapose the two and compare them, even though I think because they are two prominent wrestlers that were both the heroes of their respective companies for multiple years in eras that were very, very difficult for the company. They were there propping everything up. I think you can absolutely extend the comparisons, and both of these gentlemen had their retirement years this year, and I think it's not even debatable. I don't think you'd have to make a really compelling argument to convince me otherwise that John Cena had a better year than Hiroshi Tanahashi, or had a better retirement match than Hiroshi Tanahashi, or he didn't, and that isn't necessarily John Cena's fault in it to its core. It is the company, it is the promotion that he worked for that put all of this together, that was unable to create something authentic. We've talked about it multiple times in regards to their head booker. I don't necessarily want to tread down all that path here, but ultimately, I guess the high level notes is that once again, Paul Levesque and WWE show that they are unable to truly connect with their audience, that all they can offer is fabricated platitudes that are not rooted in anything truly emotional or sentimental, or that has any true heart. All they are content with is delivering content and expecting their audience to slop up the content, whatever it is. In the case of Tanahashi and how New Japan handled it, they not only did Tanahashi deliver a truly emotional, excellent final match, but the company let all of this breathe and allowed Tanahashi the time to connect one last time with the audience that supported and propelled him for his entire career. But that just needs a little something called heart. That just and WWE is just too soulless to be able to create these types of true, authentic moments, things that really do make you feel something. I mean, you didn't see Hiroshi Tanahashi walking around with the IWGP World Heavyweight title and the global title on his shoulders, posing from corner to corner. They actually had a plan set up for all of that. So listen, it's a fair comparison. One is exceedingly better than the other, and that's just it. And to a degree, I felt bad for WWE fans because I even posted it on Blue Sky where I was like, I realized after it kind of sounded snarky, but I didn't want it to sound snarky. Tanahashi got the retirement that WWE fans had hoped, the retirement match, I should say specifically. He got that. Tanahashi got the retirement match that WWE fans hoped John Cena would get, but they didn't, because, like I like to say, this is corporate boardroom driven creative by a man who has no ideas or no authenticity himself. Anyway, I'm not going to spend too much time on that because we've got more stuff to talk about, but that sums up, at least for this first part of the review, which we've been on for quite a while. Again, classic Warren, but the match, the post-match, it was a beautiful, wonderful send-off. I've heard people say that, and people that I really, really respect, saying that it's probably the greatest retirement match / ceremony that wrestling retirement, I should say, that they've ever seen. And I agree. I'm just as much as I'm sure that there are wrestling retirements that there's a few of them that are in blind spots of mine. From what I've seen, I'm hard pressed to think of one that has been that good, and I just can't think of it. I can't think of any that were just so incredibly touching and real. All right, let's talk about Aaron Wolf and his match, his debut here on Wrestle Kingdom. This was one of the other marquee events of the show. Okay, I've got my notes here, but I'm going to sort of enumerate them as we go along, and we'll see how everything coalesces and comes together here. But there's really two things I think we need to break down when it comes to Aaron Wolf, his debut. I think there's one part, there's the match itself, and then there's like the debut, like how did he do? Like there's the match, and then there's him, like his actual, all the elements that come together to make his debut. One of the things that I noticed was how big a reaction he got when he stepped out. Obviously, I don't live in Japan. There's a fair chance that if you're listening, you don't live in Japan either. But I know people who do. I know people who are very immersed in Japanese culture, and it became clear very early to them that, and they were quick when New Japan announced that they had signed Aaron Wolf. They made me understand very, very quickly that, okay, this is a big fucking deal because Aaron Wolf is a national treasure in Japan. This is a huge deal for New Japan Pro Wrestling. I was like, okay, cool. I had obviously not necessarily ever heard of him, despite the fact that he's, a renowned Olympic athlete. I don't necessarily watch the Olympics. That's a whole other 9 yards. But when he came out, he got the biggest reaction from that crowd, like bar none, from anyone else, compared to anyone else on that card so far. No one, not a single other New Japan star, pro wrestler who came out on that stage got even remotely close to the reaction that guy got. And so I got it. I was like, oh, all right. Everyone was indeed correct. Not that I was doubting them, but it just added more, they just added more credibility to their cases moving forward, where I'm going to be, I'll absolutely believe them 5 times faster now that I've seen this. Like there's no doubt that this guy is, like they told me, a national treasure. Now, I'm a little more ambivalent when it comes to his young lionification, okay? I know that like there in a lot of my group chats, a lot of people just like thought that this was like the greatest shit of all time, that it was tremendous, shaved his hair, shaved his beard, came out in the black trunks and the black boots, basically, shedding the gi. He's not a judoka. He is now a pro wrestler, and a pro wrestler starting from the bottom. Now, I appreciate all of the symbolism. As a pro wrestling fan, I'm like, this is actually very, very good. And holy shit, like you wanted to drive home that this guy was committed. I get it, right? Like this ain't a fly by night dude. We had heard that he works really, really hard, that he has a great work ethic, that he's training to really be the best, and that he wants to be great at this. He doesn't just want to come in, do some wrestling, get a paycheck and leave. Aaron Wolf wants to be great at pro wrestling. So, you do something like this for a nerd like me. I'm like, okay, I get it. Okay. Like this could be all smoke and mirrors, but there could be I feel like there's just enough authenticity to this for me to go, okay, well, I get it. Now, the thing that I think is very bold, and I have trouble like truly wrapping my head around and saying this was a brilliant idea, was getting rid of everything that made Aaron Wolf so identifiable, the haircut, the beard, the gi, and all of that, and just go with the young lions, black trunks and black booties. I challenge that, and I still do. I think it's a very bold move that they did, but I also wonder if this was the right way to go, because look, he's not exactly a charisma bomb, and I felt like, especially removing the hair and the beard, right? The beard is still there, but not as ample as it was. Like those were his kind of like his defining traits, and sort of made him, handsome, gave him a little charm at the very least. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're going all the way down here. We're buzz cutting. Interesting. You're sort of breaking everything that sort of constituted this guy. And again, I understand what they're doing. I understand the symbolism behind it. I just can't help but wonder if it was a good idea to do this on his debut match while he's on television, where, I don't know, people maybe don't understand the dojo system as much as us nerds, or maybe people do understand it more than I do in Japan, and maybe I'm the goofy son of a bitch over here. I will defer that point at the very least to, nonsense maybe, because I'm not going to pretend like I understand the Japanese market more than the Japanese do. And I think this thing with the buzz cut is mostly a me problem. His young lion look, I think it's mostly a me problem. But I there's a hump I just can't get over, right? It's like I often tell you guys, right? Just because I understand something doesn't mean that I like it, right? I can understand that my kids stole my credit cards to buy video game DLC, but I don't like it, because I was saying no. And then eventually they found my credit card and they did it themselves. And I'm like, oh, you clever little bastards. You're still punished, but good for you. So it is what it is for his look, like, right? I understand what they're doing, but I don't think I like it. I think, what will become problematic is if this goes on for too long. Like, if he spends the better part of the year of 2026 in young lion gear, in the young lion look, that's going to be a problem, I think. I think starting things off, for him to evolve throughout the year, just to have his hair grow back out and his beard grow back out and whatnot, I like that ultimately is something that will temper a lot of the stuff I'm feeling right now. It's just like, I wish I could trust New Japan Pro Wrestling booking creative more than I do, but I don't. And I think that, having Aaron Wolf be, this oversized young lion for the rest of the year, the prospect of that, this prospect of that gets to me. And I wish I didn't feel like this. I wish I could see it in the light that a lot of my pals do, but I've been so beaten down by New Japan Pro Wrestling over the past 2 years, and things that I thought they were going to do and didn't, things that I thought they should do and never even seemed to have never even considered it. I refuse to create like canon for myself, head canon, there you go, in regards, and say, oh, well, throughout the year, he'll probably have his hair grow back. And like, I am not giving these people I am not giving the New Japan creative a single inch, right? And they even showed on this show that you should not give them a single inch. We'll get back to that in a little bit once we get to the Jake Lee portion of this review. So I can't sit here and say, it'll all be fine. I don't know. Honest to God, if we reach December of next year and Aaron Wolf is still, young lion Aaron Wolf, it's going to be a disaster. Even if we get to June this year and he's still young lion Aaron Wolf, I will still think that's ridiculous. If this is just a thing to get him out the door, show that he is truly, that he has shed, Olympic gold medalist judoka Aaron Wolf and has now become, pro wrestler Aaron Wolf, then I can get behind that and it makes sense. And again, like, my worries will elevate. But I've got no reason to believe that New Japan is going to do the right thing here. Otherwise, look, I thought that the mission that New Japan had, which was to make him look good, make him look strong, have a great opening salvo here, right? Just come out swinging and look. I think he worked really well. I thought what he did was convincing. I thought, willing to take the big bumps, the table spot with Don Fale was, it's like, all right, okay. We're not necessarily going soft here. He's ready for it. Showed a couple of spots where he had some fire to him, and the frog splash was pretty impressive. So I'm like, okay, we are off to a very good start. I've got no complaints. I think he's got it together. I think he has the promise. I think he has the thing. I think he understands how all of this works. When I hear that he's that he's really working hard and that his desires to truly be great at pro wrestling, I'm like, yeah, okay, well, I have no reason to doubt those sentiments because I think he's into it. I think he's got it, right? And I saw some people making fun of his physique, and I'm like, why? What's wrong? I don't understand what's wrong. Like, he's a big barrel-chested, tubby guy, And here's the thing, like, here's what New Japan is doing right in regards to this. He has the physique, but he's coming in and he's dominating people, right? He's throwing fools around. Like he completely emptied the ring of the House of Torture, right? Early on in the match. And so, like, he's coming in looking the way he does and acting the way he should act, looking the way he does. If that makes sense. They're establishing him as some kind of big, strong brawler type. He's going to throw you around. He's going to splash. He's going to drop on you. As you would expect. There's an element of throwback to what he looks like, and I don't hate it. More fat guys in pro wrestling. Quite frankly, it's like we've all become accustomed to everyone like being super chiseled and well cut and lean and svelte. What happened to all just the big power guys who just come in and mollywop people, right? I think this is what Aaron Wolf should do. He should and look, they're clearly on that path. So I'm completely okay with it. I have zero issues with the fact that this man, needs a bra. That's fine. This is something I would never say to his face. That being said, even jokingly, which is what I did, by the way. He's completely okay. I don't have an issue with this. I think more diversity in the types of wrestlers that we have is actually really healthy and really good. And if people are upset, well, that means you're doing something new. You're challenging people's perceptions, and that's a good thing. I don't have any problems with how he's presented on that front. Now, the match itself, I thought was junk. Because here's what I figured out, folks. Here's what I figured out. Evil is not the problem. I thought Evil was very good. in this match. Evil, when it comes to all of this House of Torture nonsense, Evil is not the problem. The problem in the House of Torture nonsense is House of Torture. It's everyone else. It's the clown car of run-ins. It's the cavalcade of clowns. It's the shutting off of the stadium lights. It's the bell ringing. It's the fucking wrench, the push-up board, the whiskey. It's all of that. It's all of that. It's the dick-to-dick contact. It's commentary going, just throw up the match. That we've been hearing for what feels like decades at this point. This is the shit that turns me off. This is the shit that stops making me feel interested in what's going on. And it is not an Evil issue. I think Evil is a great brawler. Is that a hot take? I don't think so. Because again, he showed his value in this match. He made Aaron Wolf look like $1 zillion. It's all the other fucking nonsense and then commentary going, not this again. Threw up the match. Like, it's always the same thing. It is always the same thing. It is literally the guy who talks about the definition of insanity. It's the exact same fucking thing over and over again. Commentary reacts the same way over and over again. Like, if there was only a way to stop it, and me as a person with a functional fucking brain says to myself every time, there is a way for this to not happen again, and that is to not book this shit again. These are choices that the company is making that somehow we are being told that this is creative and interesting, but it's not. And it hasn't been for fucking years. And it has been the exact same thing. They do the exact same thing for years. Match after match, it is always the same fucking nonsense. If Evil was around and just had Dick Togo hanging around, a la Gedo, just doing, manager stuff, I'm sure none of this would be as much of a problem, and people would probably see Evil as a higher level caliber guy than what he's saddled in right now. I am so fucking annoyed. So I figured it out. I've really figured it out. Evil is not the problem. It is the House of Torture that is the problem. It is New Japan Pro Wrestling booking that is the problem. The creative, that's the fucking problem. All that to say, I thought Evil was very good in this match. I thought he was very, very good. But I can't get behind it. I just can't. Even though Aaron Wolf is throwing dudes around, and I'm like, yes, okay, that's good. Well, no, we still get the whole crew of clowns to come in and run all their interference and whatnot. And listen, Aaron Wolf going around backstage looking for people to corner him, to help fight off the House of Torture in case of need, why in the hell and I'm talking in kayfabe, why the hell would he pick Yo and Master Wato? Like, the two guys on this roster who are the least menacing and who could probably do the least amount of damage to the fucking House of Torture, right? Why didn't he go talk to Hartley Jackson, right? And Ryohei Oiwa? Why don't you get Yuya involved in this, right? Like, get some fucking stake here. Not Master Wato and Yo to come back you up. Like, I know he's new here. I know he's new, but Jesus Christ. I was like, what the fuck is he doing with these jokers? What are these two jokers going to do when the inevitable clown car hits the ring? What are these two jokers going to do? As predicted, they did jack shit. Get Tomohiro Ishii. Get Tai Chi. Get Bolt and Oleg. Get Henare. Henare just came back. Get Great O'Connor. You have so many choices. Gabe Kidd. All guys that you're like, yeah, these can hold their own. These guys can hold their own. Joe? Anyway, I guess my big take here is that the House of Torture is weighing Evil down. How about that for a hot take? The stable that was made to help promote Evil is holding him down, is holding Takaki Watanabe down. That's what's happening. Oh, good fucking grief. And you know, I swear to God, I cannot do it anymore. I cannot entertain people telling me House of Torture is good. Actually, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I'm completely spent on it. But I'm glad I came to this realization. I'm glad that things have been able to parse in my mind. And look, there's rumors that Evil wants to fuck off and do something else, right? I shudder to think of what the House of Torture will become if Evil is not around. Like, there is no purpose for this to stick around, but it's going to stick around for years because New Japan just acts like that, right? They'll just like leave dying units just live on for years with no reason. Anyway, jumping ahead here a little bit. And you know what? Aaron Wolf, I like his finisher. I like the kind of the leg triangle gimmick where then he holds back the arms. You know what it would have been really good is if Evil had just audibly tapped instead of pass out. Like, why are we so, when I say we, I mean bookers. Why are we so fucking wishy-washy when it comes to just punctuating a solid fucking win for someone who wins by submission? Why is it that most of the time it's people passing out in moves as opposed to just fucking tapping out? What was the issue? Why did we feel like we had to? What did we feel like that we had to protect Evil so bad that he could not tap to the new guy coming in that we're establishing as a force in nature? Why couldn't Evil just go? I know he couldn't because his arms were like this. It was like going tap, yes, tap, tap, whatever they say, right? Why couldn't he just like audibly tap? Why did we need Evil to pass out? There was no reason. We just could have. That could have been a much better finish. I think it would have been. I would have been. Oh, okay. Like we're punctuating with a big statement win here, but no, it's just like he passes out. I was like, like who cares? It's Evil. Who cares? What are we protecting? There's nothing to protect. And you know, I was hopeful early on in the match when Aaron Wolf was throwing guys around. I was like, oh, are they going to do my idea where it's like, you know, he throws everyone around and he just beats Evil in 6 minutes. Not quite. Evil had to, you know, get his heat back and, you know, sort of work a whole match, and that's fine. It is what it is. But I think I can't get mad at at them doing something like this and not doing my exact idea. That's just weird. One last thing before we move on from Aaron Wolf, though. Now I am much more invested in Aaron Wolf moving forward than I was previously. One would assume, and again, like this is just me throwing this out there. One would assume that every precautions were taken here to make sure that everyone knew their role in this match, and so as to avoid, things that would make Aaron Wolf look bad. But I'm gonna tell you, and I'm excited to see what kind of wrestler he's going to be in another environment that is maybe a little less controlled, that hasn't been worked on or, dare I say, rehearsed for weeks leading up. I'm excited to see what Aaron Wolf is going to be like once he's going to be like in a G1, for instance. When Aaron Wolf is going to be like just in humdrum matches. I am not saying, that, oh, this match was rehearsed or whatnot. I did use the word rehearsed because if I were in their shoes, they being New Japan, I would have established a very clear script, for lack of a better word, to work through, to make sure that everything was hit and everyone knew where to go and whatnot, so that he would be confident and that everyone knew what was going to go on, and there were no surprises. And that if anything were to happen, Evil, being the senior ring general, would have just taken control and everything would have been fine, right? But other than that, just like everything, I'm sure they had everything plotted out. Now, I'm excited to see, legitimately very excited to see how he's going to do in a G1, where he will not be able to sit down and, plan the entirety of his tournament out with all of his opponents, when there will be some of his opponents that are going to be like, just call it in the ring, brother. That's another thing that is going to happen. That's all I'm saying. And again, like, I don't want to give the impression that I'm trashing him, because I'm not, but it will be, I will be excited to see how far this is going to go once we're out of this special little bubble that we had created for Wrestle Kingdom. Aren't you? I know I am. Yota Tsuji defeated Konosuke Takeshita to become the new IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, as well as retain his IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship to become a champ. Now, they're not unified, okay? They're not unified. They said it at the start of presentations. It's like, both guys have said this is not a unification matches, and whoever wins is going to defend both belts. I don't like that. I don't like that, because at some point you're going to have to, at some point, you know what's going to happen at some point? Yota Tsuji is going to relinquish the global title. That's what's going to happen at some point. I'm convinced. Or like what? Yota Tsuji is going to wrestle, but only put up one belt and not two. Like, I don't like this. But look, this is not the time for that. I want to talk about this match because I thought this match was excellent. I thought this match was so fucking good. Just, two of these guys dropping absolute bombs on each other, big moves, like one of these really big, exciting, exhausting matches that I like so much and that are kind of like the bread and butter in New Japan. They're just, strikes and challenging each other at the same time, right? Like they're both really hungry for the victory and the advancement, and you know how important all of this is, So Takeshita's like, he beats him up for a bit, and then he's like standing up, and he's just waiting for Tsuji to get back up on his feet. So then they sort of stare each other down, and they do a thing where they each go to the corner and run after and run at each other with their move, right? With the jumping knee strike for Takeshita and the Gene Blast for Tsuji, right? They're psyching each other up like it's two younger guys, because they're both in their 30s at this point. So it's disingenuous to call them young guys when there are still actual young guys on the roster, right? But two guys in their 30s who are, at the top of this company, and they're fighting. There's a real struggle. Like, you really feel like there's an authentic, true to form struggle going on, and they're landing surprise destroyers out of nowhere. Look, it is just a huge physical match with a great finish. Like, after the stare down part, like the duel, right? Like the OK Corral moment, Tsuji has him. Like, he landed his finisher. It's he lands his finish, the Gene Blast. But instead of covering him, he grabs his legs and puts Takeshita in a Boston Crab, right? Which, as you know by now, is the basic young lion move. And he's basically telling Takeshita, look, you don't go here. I have trained in this place, and I'm going to beat you with the signature move. I'm the signature New Japan move that every one of us who have come through this dojo, have learned, and can strap on any time. I am going to beat you with this. And he just locks it in, pulls back, and eventually Takeshita, all he can do is tap. A guy who has never gone through the system, who never went through the New Japan dojo, trained at DDT, then became a part of AEW, only to join New Japan with a three-way contract. That was a big deal. Like I appreciated that finish because Tsuji is establishing himself as the New Japan Rah-Rah guy. He's ostensibly taking the place of Gabe Kidd, who had exactly that role a year ago, if you remember. But, New Japan just decided to not do anything with Gabe Kidd throughout 2025. So now the role is wide open. That's why Yota Tsuji is talking about bringing back the V4 heavyweight championship belt. That's why he's taking shots at AEW in interviews and pissing AEW fans off because they don't understand that he's working. It's all this stuff here. All this stuff that he's doing is all to create like this New Japan first type of situation where he's sick of New Japan not being like the talk of the town, being the greatest promotion on earth. He wants to carry it to greatness. That's his whole thing that he wants to do because he believes in the lion mark. He believes in the precepts. So beating Takeshita, who has always been perceived as an outsider by New Japan fans ever since he won the G1, beating him with like I said, the signature New Japan finisher, the submission move, is like, that's not a mistake. This is the statement that they wanted to make here. And I thought it was incredible. And I thought Tsuji looked so good here. I thought he was tremendous. I've been hot and cold on Yota Tsuji, as many of you know. I had relegated him to the role of being a vibes guy, and that was fine. But like I said, I don't know when he learned he was going to be in the Wrestle Kingdom main event, but I feel like during the summer, particularly in the G1, every aspect of his game improved. Everything just sort of started getting better and bigger, and he had more presence. His matches were tighter. They didn't feel like these slow moving affairs that were typically a signature of Yota Tsuji matches. He was going in so incredibly hard that I had made a turnaround and was like, maybe, I don't know what we've unlocked here, but something has unlocked and he's been terrific, right? Maybe it goes back to the first Gabe Kidd match that he had in 2025. He's just been having great matches, and he has another really good match with Gabe Kidd. He has a great match with Tanahashi, and I'm like, okay, he's clearly positioning himself as a credible top guy. I have no qualms at this point with him getting the top title of the land. This is not a Shota Umino situation, right? Where it's like, no, anyone but him. No, I think Yota Tsuji makes a lot of sense, and I hope he has a solid reign. I really, really do. Now, as it stands for Konosuke Takeshita, look, New Japan fans rejected him, and I think the creative has itself to blame on this circumstance. Like, they didn't know how to position him as any stronger than he was. They tried all sorts of stuff, and it was very flippy floppy. They didn't know. I felt like they really didn't know what to do with Konosuke Takeshita to get him over with the New Japan audience, and it feels like it would have been a shoo-in. Like, I think his story of him wanting to join New Japan when he was a kid, then being rejected, then working hard, everywhere else to finally make it. I always thought that was a compelling story, but they tried to make him a heel, but they wanted him to be a baby face. I think they dropped the ball on him, and I think that's why New Japan fans in general sort of turned against them, which is a shame. And, I would even go as far as to say that, New Japan fans don't deserve them. Like, if you're going to turn on this guy, on this guy who is one of the best pro wrestlers on earth, because, and you can't see through whatever creative they're trying to do, that you can't see that he is an excellent professional wrestler, that's fine. And then he won't go there. He'll go somewhere else, and you can hang on to your Shota Uminos and your House of Tortures, right? Right. That's all. Am I being weirdly protective of Konosuke Takeshita? Fuck you. Sometimes Puro fans can be fucking miserable. I think any wrestling fan can be miserable. Don't get me wrong. Any group of wrestling fans can be miserable. I'm just, singling out Puro fans in this circumstance here. Because I guess there's the AEW ties, and it is what it is. There's a lot of people who are very upset, that think there are a lot of AEW fans that a lot of New Japan fans that really don't like AEW, that believe that AEW is the source of all the ails in New Japan instead of looking a little more inward. So the Takeshita being a part of that certainly doesn't help. So there you go. That's fine. That's fine. Come home, Soup. Return to AEW, and everything will be fine. Just fuck them, and then go back to DDT and do some matches there. Have fun, enjoy yourself. If the New Japan fans don't want you, well, that's fine. There's plenty of other places who do. That's all right. But both of these guys I thought were brilliant in this match. I gave this match 4 3/4 stars. I like this that much. I thought it was an absolutely fucking brilliant match. And may Yota Tsuji reign proud and long, especially when you consider that his first challenger that has been set up for him is Jake Lee. Fucking Jake Lee. When we were thinking about who was going to be the X, when they had the 2 X's, right? And they revealed one to be Andrade, and they still had one that wasn't revealed. No, I'm fucking kicking myself. No one thought about Jake Lee. And now that it's happened, that he's the guy now who is the leader of United Empire, and the guy who is going to be Yota Tsuji's first challenger, I was kicking myself. I was like, of course, it's going to be Jake Lee. Of course, it's Jake Lee, and it is the most dud reveal on both ends. It's a dud reveal for United Empire. I cannot imagine, I should say, Will Ospreay being backstage for this and going, yes, great, well done, Gedo. You certainly have encapsulated my vision for United Empire. Right? It's such bullshit, and Jake Lee being the first challenger or even if he was the second or the third or the 6th or the 12th challenger, Jake Lee being in the world title picture is laughable. This is a guy who, no matter where he went, All Japan, Noah, now in New Japan, but disregard New Japan, All Japan, Noah, he was pushed in both of these circumstances, in both of these promotions. He was pushed. He was made the world champion, and this guy has never drawn a fucking dime, and he has never put on an exciting match. This guy is a fucking dud. He is the very definition of a fucking boring professional wrestler. And I do not understand what every Japanese promoter sees in this guy, this lanky, soft, listless weirdo. I don't see what they see in him, but he always somehow ends up being in world title pictures. This is a guy who is constantly moving up in the world of pro wrestling. He went from All Japan to Noah, and Noah to New Japan. Like, that is an upward trajectory. This guy wins. He wins all the, and I don't understand. I do not understand. He goes around just completely flaccid. This is a wrestler that I think is so utterly boring. And I know I'm not alone. And we got the double whammy when he was introduced as being the new leader of United Empire. A shocking turn of events. Oh, he's the betrayer. He's the smart bastard, right? Of course he was going to do this to the War Dogs and blah blah blah. When he came out, and then they put this over and went on. I was like, this kind of stinks. Of course it's Jake Lee. Man, what a bad choice. That was essentially what my thoughs were. But then when he shows up and attacks Yota Tsuji and establishes himself as the first challenger to this title, I'm like, this had better be a program that they get rid of on fucking New Year's Dash tomorrow. It has to be something that we're just throwing into the bin as soon as possible. If they are main eventing the New Beginning with this match, creative is exactly in the same spot it was. And just like I said earlier, it continues to show, it continues to demonstrate to me that they are not to be trusted, that New Japan's creative is not to be trusted, that they are still going to do the same fucking mistakes over and over again. We want new people in the title picture. I think everyone agrees with that. But you as in New Japan have been sitting on truly exciting young guys that are ready to go, and that all that people are asking for is for an opportunity for them to start, to get going. Why not a Ryohei Oiwa? Why not a Yuya Umera? Why not Bolton Oleg? You still got Gabe Kidd. Are you good? Why couldn't it have been Gabe Kidd on the way out? One more dance with Gabe Kidd before, Gabe Kidd goes somewhere else. Why not do that instead of giving an opportunity to a man who hasn't even wrestled in this company since 2024, that most people have forgot exists, and you're going to bring him back and you're going to drop him into this situation. Now, I understand that they might want to do this just to give Yota Tsuji, a first defense. They probably don't want to go to Yuya just yet. They probably want to save Yuya for one of the bigger shows, maybe even for Dominion, considering the rivalry that they have. You can have Yuya win the New Japan Cup and all. You got a good story you could tell there. You don't want to drop Yuya Umera right off the bat. No. I can understand that. What I have trouble understanding is why Jake fucking Lee. At the very least, then, at that point, just go with Evil. Just drag Evil back out and say, well, you know what? I lost, but why don't I lost the Never title, and I'm losing Upward, right? Jake fucking Lee, an absolute fucking dud. I don't understand it. I legitimately don't understand it, but it is the proof that you still should not have any confidence in this company's creative direction. Yeah, you really should not. They have so much to prove. And we're starting off the year with them deciding that Jake Lee is going to be a pushed commodity, that this is going to be someone that we can call upon to fill a spot in the world title picture. Boring as fucking drywall Jake Lee. I don't understand it. I do not understand it. I don't know anyone who likes Jake Lee. That's the thing. I have no one who tells me, no, Jake Lee's actually really good, Warren, because no one. Anyway, so that's the last high level, newsworthy thing that I wanted to break down. Much shorter and much more concise. I have nothing else to say about Jake Lee other than he stinks. So let's take a look at the rest of the card, shall we? In the pre-show, we had a Young Lion tag team match that was added in. That made me happy. Katsuya Murashima and Masatori Yasuda defeated Shoma Kato and Tetsuya Matsumoto, which was pretty good. A lot of fun. Then we had also on the pre-show a world television title match where El Fantasmo retained his title against Chris Brooks coming in from DDT. And I enjoyed this. I thought that much better than I expected. Just came out of nowhere, and these guys work really well together. I think they're friends. In real life. So their chemistry was there. They got along. The match was very good for, I don't want to oversell it, but I thought it was very good, particularly for on the pre-show. I don't want to oversell it like, it's like, hey, yeah, it's one of the top 3 matches of the show. It wasn't. It's not even one of the top 4 matches, or maybe I'd have to think about that. Maybe top 5, 6, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Look, just forget about it. It was good. Don't go. You're not going to go rewatch it. You're not going to be, oh, Warren thinks this was great. No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. Then we go to the main show with the Ranbo, the never open weight 6-man tag team Ranbo. What a fucking disaster this fucking piece of shit was. Fuck me. Like, this is what I was talking about at the start of the review when I was saying, there's the top of the card, which was tremendous. And then you have these incredibly bizarre decisions like this fucking shit. This fucking piece of shit match. This was so fucking bad. I hated everything about this match. Everything. I hated that there were wrestlers that basically did jack shit in this match that were somehow included in this match, like Toki Makabe and Satoshi Kojima. And I would have really liked to have seen some Satoshi Kojima in this match. I hated that it was one of these matches where everyone is on the floor and there's no one in the ring, so you never know who's been eliminated or who's not. I hate that everything was so poorly communicated that you didn't even know who was eliminated or not. And the work was weak and stupid, and I don't know who. This was a piece of shit match. This was a piece of shit match. Thank you for wasting 20 minutes of my time, New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'll send you the invoice. IWGP, here's a match that didn't waste my time. IWGP Women's Title New Japan Strong winner-take-all match. Shuri successfully defeated Saya Kamitani and is now the champ, holds both belts. I'm a little surprised by the result, but this match was extremely good. But again, I want to circle back to the fact that I was a little surprised that Saya didn't win. I was convinced that she was going to just like pick this up and pick up the IWGP belt and do a little belt collector gimmick of her own. But clearly not. I guess they just want her to focus on Stardom, which is all right. But, this is the woman that, look, I would have thought that she would have won if only because of all of the hullabaloo around her during the course of 2025, all the press that's been the extremely positive press about her and her influence on Stardom and, winning all these awards and whatnot, Wrestler of the Year, so on and so forth, the MVP award from Tokyo Sports. I would have thought that they would have just like, yeah, look, this is her, and she's going to win here. She's going to defeat her opposition because that's who she is. But no, Shuri was able to squeeze one out here in a really good match. I thought it was super well worked. I thought the pace that they worked was awesome. Look, again, and I know some people complained about this, and there's probably going to be more. 12 minutes, a 12-minute match, and people are saying, oh, they should have got 15. They should have got. But what, like, this is again something that I've talked about on stream, and I'm going to bring this up again here. I'm not necessarily a fan of the super long matches, of super long matches in general. Sometimes, you can get an epic, but not everything needs to be an epic match. And especially when it comes to Stardom matches, like the time limit is like 20 minutes, right? Something to that effect, 15, 20 minutes. So, a 12-minute match in Stardom, effectively is pretty good. It's I think it's a pretty good. I think it's a pretty good chunk of time, especially since there is no downtime in this match. Like there's no one slapping a hold. We're just go. There, we're doing stuff. We're jumping off of turnbuckles. We're running the ropes. We're cracking shots at each other. We're dropping each other with, like, there's always something going on. I don't care if the match is 12 minutes. If I thought that if the end result is that the women worked super hard, or the guys, whoever, they worked super hard and delivered something that made perfect sense and was and that rounded itself out all naturally within the 12-minute frame that they got. It's the same criticism that I heard with the Hollywood ending match, right? Where people are like, I can't believe it lasted like 15 minutes or whatever it was, right? It was a little less than 15, I think. They should have had 20, 25 minutes. And I'm like, no, they shouldn't have. Why would, like, no, the match is actually perfect. It's one of my favorite matches of last year. And it's not a 30-minute epic. It's not a 25-minute epic. It was the perfect amount of time. And every minute that was used in that match was used to maximum efficiency, to make the match matter and feel dramatic. The pace of it was so good. Like, I don't know why people wanted more out of something which is, I think, objectively perfect. It was a great, excellent match of the year match. You didn't need more. I think sometimes you go too long and it bogs everything down. There's a lot of wrestling fans who seem to think that if a match is not 20 minutes, oh, well, we missed an opportunity for something great. No, it's up to the wrestlers. It's entirely up to the wrestlers. This is a 3 3/4 star match that lasted 12 minutes. What more do you want? Would it have reached 4 stars if they had added 5 minutes extra? I don't know. Maybe. What I saw here was great. Was really, really great. I don't know. It's an outstanding match. I don't know what to tell you. So this, I would say, is the 4th best match on the card. Shuri is excellent, and clearly, and I say clearly, I say hopefully they've got plans for her moving forward, and Saya is Saya, so she'll be fine. Like, if there's one wrestler in Japan right now who should not be worried about anything, it is her. Then we had the 10-man tag team match where the United Empire, as we discussed, defeated the Bullet Club War Dogs team of David Finlay, Drilla Maloney, and Gabe Kidd, who were joined alongside by the unaffiliated duo of Hiromu Takahashi and Shingo Takagi. This was fun enough. I thought this was a fun enough match. You know what? My radar should have been on when Jake Lee got the win on Hiromu. I should have smelt it from that point on. Oh, wait a second. They're cooking something with fucking Jake Lee, aren't they? He's going to come out and challenge the world champion, isn't he? My radar was completely down. I feel bad. But yeah, no, this was fine. It was a fun little match, and I got no notes. Let's move on. The last match we're going to talk about is the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Title #1 Contendership 4-way match. What a waste of time this match was too. This match can piss off. This is a 1 3/4 star match. What a crock of shit that was. With all, again, the fucking nonsense House of Torture bullshit. There's nothing that happened in this match. There's nothing. There's nothing. You've got El Desperado, Kosei Fujita, who are great. Taiji Ishimori, who, when he's in a good mood, when he feels like it, he's solid as fuck. And you got Sho, who, used to be a guy. And you're like, but then it's completely overtaken by the fucking House of Torture shit. And I'm like, what's the point? What is the fucking point? Why did we book this? And they even brought out Doki because they knew people wanted to see Doki. So they bring him out and have him sit at ringside. I'm like, at this stage, it should have just been a championship match for the fucking junior title. Piece of shit. This was really bad too. I hated it for, Not for the same reasons as the fucking Rambo, but I hated this match. I've got like fucking like the Rambo and this match here, and then the 10-man tag match. Those are matches that just scream Road to, right? Absolutely scream Road to matches. And we're putting these types of matches on Wrestle Kingdom. But Warren, the Rambo's been on for you. Keep it on the fucking pre-show, all right? And it will not bother me. But if this is all you got, if this is all you have for your undercard, is a Rambo for titles, for the least interesting New Japan titles, and I am even including the New Japan Strong Tag Team titles in this, okay? That's how uninteresting the never open-weight 6-man tag team titles are. The least interesting titles in all of New Japan Pro Wrestling. A Rambo for those on the main card. You can fuck off. Put that on the pre-show where I can absolutely not feel bad if I don't watch it. And then book your juniors like properly and make some singles matches. Make a singles match out of don't book a 10-man tag team match on fucking Wrestle Kingdom. Give us some substance. Give us something to sink our teeth into. This undercard really stunk, guys. It was not good. But the top end of the card is what people are going to remember, and that's what's going to salvage it, and that's why people will probably have fond memories of Wrestle Kingdom 20, but then in a couple of years when you look back at it, it was like, holy shit, wait, this card was bad. But it's one of these circumstances where the top of the card is so good and excellent and pristine and legendary that it will oblige you to forget the worst parts. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on Wrestle Kingdom 20. Look, I think it's a very good way to start the year for New Japan. They have decided to take a couple of risks, with Yota Tsuji, with Jake Lee, iRoll, Aaron Wolf has the potential to pay off as they like, so the future seems wonderful, but I am absolutely keeping New Japan Creative at arm's length. I do not trust them. So that's my, outside of the legendary exit of Hiroshi Tanahashi from professional wrestling, the rest of the card in regards to the future of New Japan, I think is lovely. I think they're clearly going to try some things, but I've been down this road before, New Japan. I've been down this road before. Those are my thoughts.